The wind screamed across the ice fields of Narayan 6, a dead moon where nothing should survive. Cole Walker, a human engineer, pushed forward through the heavy snow. His face was red from the cold, his breath turning to ice on his beard. The crash had left him with a broken shuttle, low supplies, and no signal to Earth. Each step was harder than the last. His thermal boots were failing, and his food pack beeped only one ration left. Still he moved. If he stopped, he'd freeze too. Scanned the area ahead with his visor. Nothing but white dot. Then dash movement. Cole stopped. Just a flicker. A dark shape, maybe 20 meters away, buried in the snow. He crouched down, pulling out his small blaster. The moons of this system were not safe. Raiders, wild beasts, strange. Traps, anything was possible. He stepped closer. It was a body. No, a person. He cleared the snow with his gloved hands and gasped. It was a woman, an alien. Her skin was pale lavender, her lips cracked with cold and her eyes closed. She was thin, almost skeletal, and covered in torn fabric and frost. Chest rose faintly, barely alive. Cole looked around. No sign of a trap, no footprints, just her, alone. He hesitated. This could be a trick. Her kind had fought in the Outer Belt Wars. They were known for being ruthless. His scanner buzzed in warning. Species match. Saraxi. Status, enemy combatant. Damn it, he muttered, looking down at her. He had one heat pack left. One emergency thermal pod. He could use it on her or keep it for himself. Might be the only thing that kept him alive through the night. But then she shivered. Barely a twitch hand let out a soft, broken sound. Not words, just pain. Cole sighed. Hell with it. Pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her, trembling. Bodhi, the cold bit into his own skin, but he kept going. He dug a shallow space in the snow, pulled the pod from his belt, and pressed it against her chest. It hummed to life, glowing orange, spreading heat through her frozen form. Come on, live, he whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened bright blue, glowing softly even in the blizzard. She blinked up at him, confused, frightened, weak. She tried to sit up, but her body failed her. Easy, Cole said, lifting her head gently. She opened her mouth and spoke in a soft, broken voice. He didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. She was asking why. He leaned closer. I'm not here to hurt you. Her hand trembled as it reached for his. Then suddenly she grabbed his wrist weakly, but with purpose. Her lips moved again, and this time she whispered something clear. Though the language was foreign, before he could respond, her eyes rolled back and she fainted. His visor beeped again. Another scan. Alert. Life form identified. Saraxi. Widow. Status, royal bloodline. Cole's heart skipped. Royal blood? What the hell was she doing out here? Then another warning flashed on his scanner. Saraxi territory. Hostile zone. He looked down at the faint, unconscious figure in his arms. She had no weapons, no tech, just frostbitten hands and a body close to death. Cole stared at the swirling snow. He was now alone, with a dying alien widow whose people were known to kill humans on sight, and he had just given her his last warmth. Asterisk. Cole dragged her across the ice as the storm raged. Harder. The thermal pod kept her alive, but just barely. His jacket flapped wildly in the wind, half tied around her to shield her from the biting cold. His body ached with exhaustion, his legs weak from the deep snow, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. If they stayed out much longer, both of them would die. He remembered passing a derelict survey outpost 5 clicks back, hidden beneath a frozen ridge. It had been abandoned years ago. No power, no warmth, but maybe it still had shelter from the storm. That was all they needed now, just one place to stay alive till morning. As he walked, he looked down at the alien woman. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin had turned a strange shade between pale and blue. She wasn't wearing shoes, just rag-wrapped feet now bloodied by frostbite. He cursed softly under his breath. Whoever left her here had wanted her to suffer by The time he reached the outpost, the storm had nearly blinded him. The roof had half collapsed, and the door was jammed with ice. He dropped to his knees and pried it open with shaking fingers. The old metal door creaked loud enough to wake ghosts. Inside was pitch black, colder than death, but at least the wind stopped. He laid her down gently on the old floor panels and activated a dim flare. The small light flickered, revealing cracked walls, broken consoles, and one barely working heater. Unit in the corner, its red light blinking weakly. He hurried over and rerouted power from his toolpack into the system. After a few seconds, warm air began to push out barely enough to warm a small room. She moaned softly. He returned to her, unwrapping her frozen limbs. Her feet were blackened but not fully dead. Her hands were raw, fingers twitching. He found an old medkit in a wall locker, mostly empty, but it had gel packs and disinfectant. He started cleaning her wounds. She woke halfway through, eyes wide. With fear, she jerked away, but she was too weak to fight. "Easy, easy," he whispered, raising his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't understand his words, but she understood his tone. She stopped struggling, just stared at him. Her lips moved again, the same strange words she'd said in the snow. This time her voice was clearer. "Thurl." He shook his head slowly. "I don't know what that means." She looked around. The broken shelter, then at him. There was confusion in her glowing eyes. Confusion. And something else. A kind of disbelief. She pointed weakly to the jacket covering her. Then to the thermal pod humming near her chest. Then to the food ration he'd placed beside her. Cole followed her finger. "Yeah, it's all yours." She blinked. "You. Give." It was the first human word she said. Her voice was cracked and dry, but the meaning was unmistakable. He nodded. "Yes, I gave it to you." Her hands trembled again. She covered her face as if ashamed. He thought she might be crying, but she made no sound. Hours passed in silence. The storm howled outside. Inside, the air grew warm enough to breathe without pain. She slept, curled near the heater like a fragile animal. Cole sat across from her, staring at the flare light dancing on the walls. She had spoken one word, one human word, that changed everything. The next morning, Cole woke to find her sitting up barely on, watching him. Her eyes were sharper now. She studied him with a careful look, like someone trying to decide if a dream was real. When he offered her another ration, she didn't flinch this time. She took it with both hands, bowed her head once, and ate slowly. Then, she pointed at herself. "Riva," she said softly. He raised an eyebrow. "Your name?" She nodded. He tapped his own chest. "Cole." She repeated it almost perfectly. "Cole." Then she paused. Her expression shifted. Slowly she looked. Down at her torn clothes and wounded hands, then up at him again. "Widow." He didn't speak. She pointed to the ring around her neck. A thin chain, almost invisible, hidden beneath her collar. A small, glowing crystal dangled from it. Inside, a hologram flickered to life. A man same species, strong and proud, standing beside her in ceremonial armor. "My mate," she said quietly. "Dead." He stared at the image. Then at her. She turned the hologram off and looked away. Cole took a deep breath, unsure what to say. This wasn't a soldier. She was a widow, abandoned, alone, left to die in the snow. And now somehow fate had brought her into his care. But as he stared at her again, his scanner beeped. "Update. Genetic marker confirmed. Rivazel. Bloodline. Yes. Royal widow. Class. Untouchable." He frowned. Untouchable. He tapped the translation notes. The term meant sacred. Forbidden. According to Saraxi law, no one, not even her own kind, was allowed to touch or help her. Royal widows were expected to mourn and die with their mates. And he had touched her. It saved her. Cole looked up slowly. She was staring at him with wide eyes, terrified. Not of him, but of what he had done. And then she whispered, her voice shaking, "You touched me. Now you are part of me." He didn't understand the full meaning, but her next words chilled him to the bone. By ancient law, I belong. To you now. The outpost was still. Snow continued to tap against the cracked window panes like ghostly fingers. Inside, the only light came from the heater's soft red glow and a dim emergency flare stuck into a wall crevice. Riva sat near the warmth, her knees pulled close, wrapped tightly in Cole's jacket. Her glowing blue eyes didn't blink as she stared into the shadows. Cole sat across from her, trying to fix a broken cum panel with shaking fingers. His hands were numb. His lips were chapped and bleeding. He hadn't eaten more than a bite in 2 days, but he focused, soldering carefully. They needed power. They needed a signal. She watched him without a word. The silence between them wasn't cold. It was heavy. Like the weight of something unspoken between two people who had already passed the point of strangers. Cole finally gave up. The panel was fried. He tossed the tool aside and leaned back against the wall, breathing hard. The flare flickered. The wind screamed once more beyond the walls. He wondered if this place would collapse before help came. Then she did something unexpected. Riva slowly reached under her tunic and pulled out the crystal locket again. The one with the hologram. With trembling fingers, she activated it. The image shimmered in the air. Her mate. Strong, proud eyes like hers, standing tall in a warrior's pose. He was General Tovrin, she said softly. My life mate. A protector. My hope. Cole didn't move. He only listened. He died in orbit, trying to stop your people's mining fleet. He knew it would mean war, but he went anyway, said the ice moons belonged to our ancestors. Her voice grew weaker. He died. I fell with the wreckage. They thought I was. Gone too, her eyes filled with water, though no tears fell. In my world, a widow of noble bond must die alone. To survive is shame. I was to vanish into the snow, quiet, unseen. That was my place. Cole shook his head slowly. Your place was to die for loving someone. She looked down. That is the rule. Then it's a broken rule, Cole said. Flatly she blinked, startled by the certainty in his voice. You think I care about your old laws? He said. You were freezing to death. You're a person. You needed help. That's it. Out. She opened her mouth to argue, but stopped. Hand, still thin and bruised, touched the jacket over her shoulders. She looked at him with new eyes, soft, uncertain, almost. Searching then, she asked, Why did you not leave me? Cole hesitated. No one had asked him that before. He thought about it. Thought about the long nights alone on supply runs. The silence of deep space. The times he watched men and women die for orders that made no sense. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe I was tired of seeing good people die. Maybe I didn't want to be alone when I go. You gave everything, she whispered. Food, warmth, life, for me. I gave what I had left, he replied. It wasn't much, but it was everything, she said. Then slowly, almost nervously, Riva reached into the inner pocket of her robe and pulled out a small metal plate, graved with alien symbols. She held it with both hands like a sacred object, and then extended it toward him. He frowned. What is that? In my culture, she said quietly, this is a bond token. It marks the joining of two souls under survival oath, only offered once, never taken back. Cole didn't take it. Not yet. Wait, what does that mean exactly? She met his eyes. If you accept it, I am yours. To protect, to follow, to honor until death. Froze. The flare sizzled softly. In the silence, I'm not your master, he said. I'm not your owner. She nodded once. No, you are my equal, but you saved me. That gift cannot be ignored. It must be answered. Cole took a long breath. Your people would kill me for even touching you. She tilted her head. Yes, but they are not here. Still, he hesitated. Then Riva did something that broke him completely. She crawled slowly over to him, took his hand in hers, cold and thin, and trembling, and placed the bond token in his palm. Then she bowed her head, her forehead resting lightly against his knee. He closed his hand around the token, heart pounding. "I'm not letting you die out here," he said. She looked up, smiling faintly. "Then I will live. For you." Outside, the storm began to weaken. But inside the outpost, something new had been born. Not just survival, something deeper, something ancient, something forbidden, something human. And just then, Cold's scanner lit up with a red alert. Proximity. Warning. Movement detected, multiple life forms approaching. Asterisk. Yeah. The alarm kept flashing red and steady, and Cole's cracked wrist scanner. It wasn't a glitch. Something was moving out there. Multiple heat signatures. Not animals, not the storm. Footsteps. He leaned closer to the icy window, brushing away frost with the side of his glove. Through the storm's dying winds, he saw blinking lights, cold blue light sweeping through the snow, steady and systematic. Searchlights? Drones? No, too big. It's too coordinated. Then he saw them, figures in armor, tall and sharp-edged, moving like shadows with glowing eyes. Saraxi soldiers. "Riva," he said quickly, turning toward her. "Your people, they found you." She looked up, but didn't smile. Her face went pale. Her fingers tightened around the bond token he had given back to her earlier. "No. My people," she whispered. "The Death Watch. They hunt the fallen, and those who aid them." Cole's blood ran cold. "They're here to kill you?" She nodded. "To erase my shame from the record, and yours for touching me?" He stared at the door. "They'll scan for heat. We're trapped." "I can go outside," she said, standing up shakily. "See me? Think I'm alone?" "No," Cole said immediately. "You won't make it 5 steps in your condition." She stood firm. "If they find you, they will burn this shelter to the ground. You are human. You are not protected." "And what if they scan anyway?" Cole snapped. "What if they already know I'm here?" Riva hesitated. Then she moved to the corner of the outpost, knelt down, and pulled up a panel in the floor Cole hadn't noticed before. Beneath it was a narrow maintenance tunnel just wide enough to crawl through. "Hide here," she said. "Say nothing, do nothing. Let me speak." "No," Cole said again, shaking his head. She reached out, touched his cheek with her trembling fingers. "Please, let me protect you now. You saved me. I will not let them take you." Cole clenched his jaw, torn between pride and survival. But the scanner pinged again, closer now. Just meters away, he gave in. He climbed into the narrow tunnel. Riva closed the hatch above him gently, and darkness swallowed him from below. He could only hear faint, muffled sounds, footsteps crunching into the shelter, the creak of metal doors, then a low, mechanical voice speaking in Riva's language. At first, it sounded formal, cold, then sharp, accusatory. Then something slammed hard. Cole tensed, fists clenched, every muscle ready to burst out if they hurt her, but Riva's voice rose above the others, calm, strong, and firm. She was speaking quickly, clearly, holding authority. It sounded like she was giving commands, not taking them. Suddenly, everything went silent. The metal hatch opened. "Come," she whispered down. Cole climbed out. The room was still. The soldiers were gone. "What happened?" he asked. "They wanted to burn the outpost," she said. "I said it was tainted by human presence. I told them I took shelter here alone. I used my name, my bloodline. They cannot question a royal widow's final wish." Cole raised an eyebrow. "So, they believed you?" Her voice dropped. "No, one of them didn't. He looked at you through the wall. His scanner caught your heat. He will return, with proof. With more warriors," Cole cursed. "So we run." "We don't run," Riva said. "We survive." She walked over to the heater unit, opened a back panel, and began to adjust the settings. Cole was surprised her. Fingers were clumsy, but precise. She knew what she was doing. "You know tech?" he asked. "My mate taught me," she said. "I should learn how things work. In case he didn't come back." Her voice cracked, just slightly. She turned away from the heater and pointed to the far wall. "There's an old storm cycle in the back chamber, half buried in snow. If we can fix it, we can travel west to the Dead Canyon." Humans won't follow there. Neither will the Death Watch. Cole looked through the broken door into the storage bay. The cycle was their rusted old thing, but with a thick shell and 2 seats. "Won't be easy," he said. "But if we power the engine with my reactor cell, we might get a day's head start," she finished. They worked together in silence, side by side. He passed tools. She reconnected wires. He rewrote the power circuit. She patched the shell with plating from the broken wall. They didn't talk much, but they didn't need to, as the storm faded and the stars returned overhead. The cycle roared to life low and guttural. Riva smiled for the first time, just slightly. Just enough to show that maybe, just maybe, she was no longer a widow waiting to die. That night, before they left, she did something strange. She painted a symbol on the inside wall of the outpost using coal from the heater. It looked like a circle, split in 2, half fire, half ice. "What is that?" Cole asked. "Our vow," she said. "Yours and mine. The bond of survival. If we live through this, we carry it forward." He stared at the symbol, then at her. "I never asked for this," he said. She stepped close, her voice like wind over snow. "Neither did I. But here we are, alive." The engine hummed behind them, and in the distance, sky flashed red. The Death Watch was returning. Asterisk, the storm cycle tore through the white wastelands, leaving behind a trail of churned-up ice and scorched snow. Its engine whined in protest, barely holding together, but it moved fast enough to outrun death, for now. Cole gripped the controls, eyes narrowed behind frost-streaked goggles. Riva clung tightly behind him, one arm wrapped around his chest, the other holding the old bond token against her heart like a charm of protection. Behind them, the night sky burned. From the distant mountains, red lights lit the clouds' pursuit beacons. The Death Watch was coming, and this time they weren't going to ask questions. "We need cover," Riva shouted over the wind. "There's a ravine up ahead," Cole replied. "I saw it on my visor. Looks like it drops down into old mining tunnels." She nodded, pressing closer to keep from being thrown off by the bumps and icy ridges. The freezing air cut like knives, but her body was warmer, now stronger. She hadn't just survived, she was changing. They reached the edge of the ravine just as the first red drones appeared in the sky behind them. Cole didn't hesitate. He angled the cycle down the sharp slope and plunged straight into the canyon. The machine bucked and skidded on the descent, but somehow held together. Rock walls rose high on both sides, narrowing the path until the cycle finally slid to a stop. Before a collapsed tunnel entrance, Riva jumped off first, scanning the rocks. "This is it, the place I told you about. Ancient tunnels from before the war." Cole followed her inside, pushing aside fallen debris. The air inside was cold, but still, no wind, no storm. Just silence and the crunch of boots on old metal. Tunnels were dark, lined with faded signs and Siraxi script and broken lamps. Their flare light cast dancing shadows on the walls as they walked. It felt like walking through the bones of a long-dead beast. "Are you sure they won't follow us here?" Cole asked. "No Siraxi soldier enters the old mines," she replied. "Quietly, they say. The dead whisper here." He gave her a side look. "You believe in ghosts?" "No," she said, "but they do." They walked for hours in silence, deeper and deeper into the underground. But sometimes they passed strange carvings. On the walls, faces with sharp eyes and fangs, scenes of fire and ice, war and peace, love and sacrifice. Riva paused at one panel, her fingers tracing a symbol. "I used to come here as a child," she said, "with my mate. Before the war, before the vows, he told me this place remembered truth, even when the world forgot." Cole stared at her. She had changed since he first found her in the snow, still thin, still scarred, but not broken, not lost. She moved like someone who had remembered how to stand tall again, but the peace didn't last. A low hum filled the tunnel. A red glow lit the walls behind them. "They followed us," Cole muttered. "Drones," Riva said, her voice tense. "Fast ones." They turned and ran, boots pounding the floor as the hum grew louder. The tunnel twisted and bent into a sharp incline too steep to climb quickly. Behind them, the glow grew stronger. Riva stopped. "Keep going," she said. "I'll stall them." "No chance," Cole snapped. "We do this together." But she shook her head. "They'll never stop. Unless I face them, they follow me, not you." "I don't care," Cole said. "I gave you everything I had. You don't get to throw it away now." Then Riva did something she hadn't done before. She smiled. A real smile, soft, sad, proud. "You are more Siraxi than most of my kind," she said. "But if we die here, the bond ends." He grabbed her wrist. "Then we don't die." From his coat, he pulled out the last trick he had, a small pulse detonator, military issue, stolen long ago from a black market salvage run. "Stand back," he said. "We'll trap the tunnel behind us." She didn't argue. She just nodded once and stepped aside. He planted the charge on the support beam, waited for the drones to round the bend, then slammed the activator. A burst of blinding white light filled the corridor as the tunnel collapsed in a roar of metal and stone. When the dust cleared, only silence remained. They stood on the far side of the cave-in, coughing, bleeding, alive. Cole slumped against the wall. "I swear, next time I crash, I'm staying dead." Riva sat beside him, her head resting lightly against his shoulder. "Then I would have died too." He looked down at her. "Still think I'm your bonded?" She closed her eyes. "More now than ever." The tunnels stretched ahead, long and dark, but they were still breathing, still fighting, still together and behind the wall of rubble. The enemy waited. The air inside the collapsed mining tunnels was heavy, thick with old dust and the scent of burned metal. Cole's ears still rang from the blast. He sat with his back against the tunnel wall, clutching his ribs, pain blooming through his chest. Something was cracked. It's maybe worse. But he was alive, and so was she. Riva crouched beside him, her sharp eyes watching the tunnel ahead. Her hands were dirt-smeared, her clothes torn again. But there was strength in her now that hadn't been there when he first found her. Her body was no longer shaking, her hands no longer hesitant. "You're hurt," she said quietly. "I'll survive," Cole replied, though every breath burned. "I've had worse." But she didn't smile this time. She placed a hand on his chest, gentle but firm, and closed her eyes. A faint glow pulsed from her fingers, soft blue light that soaked into his skin. He gasped as warmth spread through his ribs, soothing the fire inside. "What was that?" he whispered. "My people call it the last touch," she said. "A survival gift very rare. It shortens our own lives, but heals those we vow to protect." "Shouldn't have wasted that on me," he said. She looked him straight in the eyes. "You gave me your warmth in the snow. I give you mine now." He couldn't argue with that. They moved slowly after that, deeper into the tunnels, where the air was thinner and strange echoes bounced off the stone like whispers from the past. Old mining carts rested on rusted tracks. Abandoned lamps flickered with low blue energy. Every step they took felt like moving through time. Hours passed, or maybe days. There was no sun to mark it. Eventually they found a chamber larger than the rest, a circular room with tall pillars and strange carvings covering the walls. At the center stood a metal console, glowing faintly, still alive with ancient power. "This was the command room," Riva said.
"Oh."
"When I was a child, the elders said this place was sacred. It's the last of the true Siraxi tech, untouched by war." Cole approached the console. "You think we can call for help from here?" She stepped beside him. "If the beacon still works, yes." He placed his hand on the control surface. It buzzed against his palm, scanning him. The interface flickered, rejecting him. Warning. In Siraxi language lit up. "Non-authorized life form. It won't let me through," Cole said. But Riva stepped forward and laid her hand next to his. The panel glowed brighter, and a soft chime echoed through the room. "Welcome, Riva-Exel." The beacon system booted to life. A circular hologram filled the room, showing the icy surface above them. The nearby moons and the nearest ships in orbit. Several red markers flashed Death Watch patrols. but one green dot blinked far off in the distance. "A human relay ship," Cole whispered. "That's our way out." He reached for the comms switch, but Riva grabbed his wrist. "Wait," she said. "If we send the signal, both sides will. Come, yours and mine." "And," Cole said, "and if they see us together," she whispered, "they'll call it betrayal." He paused, looking at her. "You still want to do this?" he asked. "Even if they say you're a traitor?" "Even if Earth doesn't understand what you are?" She didn't hesitate. "I'd rather be hated for surviving with you than honored for dying alone." For a moment, he couldn't speak. The woman who once lay dying in the snow now stood before him like a warrior, like a queen without a throne. "I'll send the message," he said softly. He pressed the command. The signal pulsed out one long, sharp beacon of light, a call for rescue, daughter for war. No one knew. Suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed. A new sound echoed through the tunnels, a rhythmic stomp, metal against stone. They both turned. The far wall slid open, and there stood a figure covered in black Saraxi armor, taller than both of them, helmet shaped like a beast's skull. Red eyes glowed from the visor. He stepped forward, alone but not afraid. "You broke the bond law," he said, voice deep and distorted. "You touched the untouchable." He raised his weapon, a spear of crackling plasma. Riva stepped between the warrior and Cole, arms spread wide. "By the right of fire and ice, I have chosen my bondage," she declared. "You chose a human." The warrior growled. She nodded. "He gave me life. He gave me honor when my own people left me to die. That is more than blood." The warrior paused, then lowered his spear slightly. "Then you both die together," he lunged. Cole moved fast. Fast for a wounded man. He tackled Riva out of the way and raised his blaster, firing blindly. The shot grazed the warrior's armor, barely scratching it. The Saraxi charged again. This time, Riva met him head-on, catching his spear with her bare hands, plasma burning her palms. She screamed in pain but didn't let go. "Cole, Ron," she shouted. "I'm not leaving you." He roared back. The warrior struck again hard, and then from above. The chamber ceiling cracked. A thunderous roar echoed as the human rescue ship broke through the icy surface and slammed into the old mine. Floodlights piercing the dark, the Saraxi warrior turned just as a human drop squad descended on repulsor lifts. Weapons drawn, everything exploded into chaos. Cole reached for Reva, bleeding, burned, still fighting, and in the center of the battle, she looked at him with fire in her eyes. "You're mine now," she whispered again. Asterisk, the battle raged inside the ancient chamber like thunder inside a tomb. Blaster fire lit up the dark walls with flashes of red and blue. Dust rained down from the cracked ceiling. Screams echoed through the tunnel, Saraxi war cries and human shouts, clashing like two storms colliding. Cole grabbed Riva and pulled her behind one of the stone pillars, shielding her body with his own. She was bleeding, her hands scorched from catching the plasma spear, but her eyes never left the battlefield. The Saraxi warrior was still standing tall, armored, unstoppable. He moved like a ghost, taking down two human soldiers with a single swipe of his blade. Sparks flew as metal met flesh. Riva coughed, pain twisting her face. "That's Lord Varish, commander of the Widow Enforcers." Cole looked back at her. "Why is he here?" "Just for you." "No," she said. "For what I became?" She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Cole caught her before she fell. "Let me fight," she whispered. "Let me finish what I started." Cole shook his head. "No, you've already given enough." But Riva was stubborn. She pressed something into his hand, the bond token. "Then use this. End this, in my name." Confused, he stared at the small metal plate, pulsed now, glowing faintly. It wasn't just a symbol. It was something more, an ancient command key, code of the old royal bloodline. Suddenly, a blast from Lord Varish's weapon knocked aside the last of the human soldiers, sending them flying. The commander turned slowly toward Cole and Riva, is now exposed. He raised his spear. Your mistake was thinking a bond can change the law, he said, stepping forward. Cole stood, blocking Riva with his body. And your mistake was thinking. Law is stronger than choice. He held up the bond-token. It glowed brighter than projected a circular symbol in the air. The same one Riva had painted on the outpost wall. Half fire. Half ice. The warrior stopped in his tracks. Impossible, he muttered. The token's glow wrapped around them like a shield. The chamber itself responded, walls lighting up, old machines humming with life. The ancient Siraxi tech had been waiting for someone worthy. For someone bonded by sacrifice, not status. A deep, rumbling voice echoed through the room, neither male nor female. Just powerful. Bond accepted. Bloodline verified. Ancient law recognized. No harm shall fall upon the chosen. Lord Varish stepped back, face hidden beneath his helmet, but body language stiff with shock. That right was lost. It cannot be invoked. Riva pulled herself to her feet, supported by Cole. Her voice was weak, but clear. It was lost because cowards, like you, buried it. But now it lives again. Cole stepped forward. Here's the deal. You walk away, or the past will destroy your future. Varish stared at them for a long moment, and slowly he lowered his weapon. He turned to the other surviving Siraxi, soldiers who had frozen at the sound of the ancient rite. He gave a short, sharp command and they backed away. This changes nothing, he growled. No, Cole said. It changes everything. The Death Watch withdrew. Human medics rushed into the chamber moments later. Cole was treated for his cracked ribs. Riva's hands were wrapped in soothing gel packs. The human captain offered to separate them, fearing political trouble. But Riva didn't let go of Cole's hand. She comes with me, Cole said simply. And anyone who says otherwise can try and stop me. No one did. 2 weeks later, they stood on the deck of a human star cruiser, staring out at the blue marble of Earth from orbit. Riva wore clean clothes, her skin healing, her spirit changed. She was no longer a widow, no longer untouchable. She was someone reborn. Cole leaned on the railing beside her, sipping warm coffee. Still think I'm a fool for saving you? He asked with a grin. She didn't answer right away, just watched Earth spin slowly below. You gave me warmth, she said, then gave me freedom, then gave me a name, not as someone broken, but as someone yours. He looked at her. Not mine, like property, Riva. You're mine like family, like future. She smiled. Not a sad smile this time, but one full of quiet hope. Then let's go there, she said. Let's go home. He reached for her hand and held it firmly. No war, no law. No bloodline would ever break what they had chosen, not by duty, but by heart. And as the stars shimmered around them, Cole Walker and Riva Zell left behind the past one. Stepped closer to a new world neither had ever dreamed could exist. Together, forever.